everybody, welcome to another episode of JayEmm Friends. And today, my dear, we're talking about you.
It's all about me.
Yes.
All about me.
And that's because, I am afraid, you're something of an elephant in this room. And I don't want you to take that as too much of a compliment. I'm sure you've heard it before. But, you see, as now a near full-time YouTuber, I mean, you know, you work on 3 channels effectively because you help me with JayEmm on Cars. You're a massive part of JayEmm Friends, of course. And you've also got Sports and Touring. So you're doing 3 channels and a real job.
And another business.
But you are missing out on one of your key duties as a YouTuber, which is changing your car on a strict 6-week rotation.
See, the thing is, I really attach to my cars and it takes me a long time to let go. Like the Z, for example, I don't think I'll ever let go of that car.
I mean, how long have you had that for now?
Since 2019.
For those not aware, that's a Nissan 370Z Nismo that I would say you've honed somewhat.
Yes.
Over the years. You know, that's a very different car to how it began.
Yes.
Nothing ludicrous, actually, I would say. In the grand scheme of things, it's actually quite subtle.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know you're proud of it, and rightly so. It's a lovely car.
Then I've got my R8 GT Spider, which I also love.
Yeah.
And I've had that for 3 years. I don't know if I can get rid of it. Because every time I think about it, every time we talk about it, I just keep thinking, how am I going to find another car that's so rare, special, and I don't know, distinguished, really.
And it is a brilliant car.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant car. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is just throw, with no preparation whatsoever, to Anthony a few suggestions for what I think could be your next car to either sit alongside the existing fleet or potentially even replace one of them, which, let's be honest here, that would be the R8.
It
because
would.
The Z is going nowhere.
No.
All right, let's go. And if you've got any suggestions, please hit the comment section down below and tell us what you think Anthony should be test driving next year. And if you happen to have one of the cars that we're talking about and you'd be happy for both of us to do a little review in it and Anthony to kind of test drive it, please drop me an email. It's talk@jayemm.com. And as you can see, I trust the man with my cars, and he also happens to be on my insurance policy as well, which is convenient. So, are you ready, sir?
Well, should we tell people a little bit about my preferences first? My general preferences?
No, because I think that's going to become blindingly obvious fairly soon. I mean, actually, to be fair, I have put in here, Ant likes racy, moddable stuff.
Yes.
And I think that's fairly,
That's basically it.
Yeah. Ignoring the fact, obviously, I've got one already, what about something like this?
Do you know, I really, really love the F12, and every time I get in it, I'm just like, oh, it's an amazing car. But I could only own this if I could have it as well as the R8. And I'm not sure if I could do that, given the price of a decent one of these. I mean,
yeah, you're talking
over 150 easy.
Yeah, you're talking really 175, let's call it.
Yeah, for a good one.
And I think you're right. It'll be a great partner to the R8, but it's a very different car. So this is coupe versus convertible, your dual clutch versus your single clutch, front engine versus mid engine. This is more GT. That's obviously a pure blood supercar. This is comfy. That is not. But yeah, actually, I think alongside each other, I can see you with a white one of these. Like, yeah, you can see that too, can't you?
You know, I could, but you know what?
Yeah.
I always said to myself that if I was going to buy a Ferrari, I think the first one would have to be red. And I think it's just something to do with when I was growing up, you know.
That's the colour.
That was the colour of the Ferraris that I always saw and lusted after. It can crunch the motorway miles, but when you're on a country lane,
oh yeah,
it goes.
It does the business.
It does the business. I do love this car.
In terms of budget, for this, I've set like an absolute upper ceiling of 200 grand.
Yep.
Because even though that might not be the actual budget that you have, I think that there's a possibility of that. There's a lot of factors involved in here. I mean, I keep forgetting, honestly, what sensational value the R8 GT is.
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, what, a good one of those is what, 90 something or other?
I bought mine for just under 70, and I've seen lower spec, higher mileage versions going for 80.
I never got the GT. I would always have said, no, I'll just have a manual, normal one, thank you very much, you know, and save about 5 grand. The minute I drove one, I thought, oh my, what, this is a genuinely special car. We've harped on about that in many other videos.
And there's a whole playlist on my channel about it as well, so we'll leave that in the description.
I think actually a very good potential partner, and one at a similar price to the R8. So we're talking 80 to 100,000 pounds here. 911 GT3. So you could have manual, you could have paddle shift, 9,000 RPM, screaming engine, great car on track, legendary thing, quite usable actually. You know, if you want to drive it day to day and whatnot.
Yeah, but you just said it's usable day to day.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot you use day to day.
Yeah, I suppose. There's only one set of Porsches that I've really fallen for. and try not to die there, James.
I know what it is.
What's that?
It's the one from Condor Man.
Yes, exactly. We've talked about that in the GT4 RS second opinion that we did.
What about that? Actually, because these 911s I've spoken about, you haven't driven, because you've driven 992 GT3.
Yeah.
But the GT4 RS, people were asking big money for them, but actually they were already coming down.
I really like it, but it's a sports car. I've got a sports car, which by the time I make my next modification is going to have about the same power as a GT4 RS. Obviously, it doesn't drive quite as well as a GT4 RS. It's actually not far off based on all the mods that I've done so far. And I don't know, I think I get my manual sports car thrills from my Z.
And of course the GT4 RS is PDK only as well, so,
yeah,
you know.
Oh, that's true, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's not manual.
So, I got it in the list, but now you've kind of given me a good segue. As you've got your Z, and you're talking about modding it and giving it more power and this, that, and the other, I know the answer, but the people watching might not. Anthony, why don't you just buy an R35?
Because I've driven R35s and I've driven them on track. It wasn't as much fun for me as the Z. I had enough money to get the Z and modify it, or get a GT-R and do some subtle mods, because it doesn't really need too much.
No.
For the size of the car, the mass of the car, it's got incredible grip, the performance is mind-boggling, but I just didn't feel like it was as much fun as the Z, and that's why I chose the Z. However, in terms of performance, it is more supercar performance.
Yeah. I mean, on a day like today, I wouldn't want to be having a play with the GT-R when I was in this. I mean, this is incredible for what it is, but the GT-R is spectacular. I keep thinking of buying one as a sort of daily to maybe replace the Aston.
Yeah.
They've not depreciated, because the early ones got down to about 30 grand, but they've crept up a little bit. But it's the 2017 onwards is what I'd want, with the nicer interior, you know, slightly more supple suspension and all that, and it does feel like a step on that car.
Yeah.
But they were 85 grand when they were new 6 years ago, now they're 70 grand.
Yep. Which is actually a positive sign, so it's worth me explaining. Where I live, I don't need a daily.
No.
Everything's in walking distance, including the train station. Most of the time, if I have to travel anywhere, it's usually into London, and I just get the train because it's quicker.
Yeah. So if you're driving, it's an event.
Yeah. Every time I get into my car, it's an event. And because I probably drive either car maybe once a week, once every other week, I want to enjoy that. I want it to be an occasion, you know? And I don't mind the fact that they're both very uncomfortable, because it's just that silly feeling you get. The fizz, you know, when you're driving a car that's just clearly not appropriate for the circumstance, but it's so much fun bumping along the road.
He loves it.
I have to say, it has been a long time since I've driven a GT-R, so maybe I think it's worth revisiting.
Did you only drive it on track?
I did.
I mean, look, they're lovely cars now. Which track was it? It wasn't Silverstone, was it?
It was, yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, Silverstone is going to make anything feel a bit boring.
I think I need to try one, because it actually would complement both cars, and it would especially complement the Z. But I think the one that's going to sway me is probably the Nismo.
Which is big money. Every now and again I go looking for one, and I realise actually it's basically the same price as one of these.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And, you know, I'm like, and by the sounds of it, not really tuned for British roads.
No.
So
just my cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly.
So what else have we got on the list?
All right, next up, Ferrari 488.
Oh.
Because we've talked about this quite a bit, because you see, this would obviously have to be a replacement to the GT.
Yeah, because of the price.
So I'm thinking it's got to be something that moves the game on enough and feels different enough. I'm not a big fan of the 458. I'm a bit odd like that. A lot of people love it and think I'm mad for it, but I actually think the 488 is a better looking car and a better car to drive, and it's got a significant amount more power. than your GT, and it's going to feel like a very different car to drive.
Yeah.
You've got the dual clutch gearbox, which again just moves it on a little bit. It's a new enough car that you can still get a warranty on it and everything. It's going to be a bit more obviously than the R8 is, but you can buy it and kind of have some peace of mind that there's not going to be a massive unexpected bill. And I could see you in a 488.
Do you know what? So can I. When we drove the 296, I enjoyed that way more than I was expecting. I was like, ugh, V6 Ferrari, ugh, turbo. Bleh. And then I got in it and I drove it and I was like, oh my God, this thing is absolutely ballistic. So I had to think and I thought, well, look, what's the next closest thing that would be feasibly within budget for me?
Yeah, because F8s are still a bit much and they're dropping, but 488s, they start at 150 or so, you know.
But I haven't driven one yet.
Keeping with the Italian Exotica theme, what about MC20? Because this is a car that's nearly already forgotten, and I've noticed they're doing what I thought they would, which is depreciating severely, and you can already buy an MC20 for about 155 grand.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Now, I have actually driven one of those. I didn't get to drive it particularly far or particularly fast, but I did get to drive one. And I really liked the interior.
Yep.
I liked the looks, apart from the weird upturned nose thing.
Billionaire doors.
Oh, yeah. The doors go up.
It's rare, it's unusual.
Yeah.
Cool badge. Get an MC20 let off the leash. I think you would be in love.
Yes, because you hated its suspension, which
Yeah.
means I'll probably love it.
It's rock hard. It's proper old school boosty.
Oh.
I mean, like, really, that thing goes... I know they weigh way more than they claim, but it doesn't matter. It's savagely quick.
Oh, how much are the Ciellos, though?
300 grand.
Okay, forget that. Yep.
Yeah.
No, the MC20, I think that has to go on the list of possibilities.
Contender. So, another carbon-tubbed, turbo-powered supercar that you have driven, 675 LT.
Oh.
They're under 200 grand as well, 190. I mean, I was going to suggest a 650S, but I thought, you know what, sod it, I'll go the whole hog. As we're dreaming, we may as well dream big. There's a roof scoop LT up for 190 grand on Auto Trader.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's,
black.
That's not even going to go down in price.
Nah. Well, they probably told the current owner that when he paid 300 for it. We've driven the Spider. I know in the video I said, look, you know, over a 650S it's hard to justify, but that's with sensible head on. It's still a stunning car.
And for me personally, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
I would absolutely...
I could see you in one of those.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that black one with the roof scoop does look absolutely epic.
Oh, and it might be a club sport spec as well, with buckets and...
I'm pretty sure it is, actually.
Yeah. No, that's got you all over it.
Yeah, that would definitely be an instead of the...
I can only
GT.
imagine Damani's face if you got that.
Oh, my son Zany, he loves that car. He's like, he'd be very jealous. I think he might be annoyed with me because I'd almost immediately vinyl wrap it in a different colour. I like black cars, they're cool and everything, but I don't know.
I mean, that would be a car where I'd be like, yeah, I'll go halves with you on that. Like, you know, because I'd probably, the more sensible thing to buy would be like a 650S, but I'm like, yeah, but I'll have a 650S's worth of an LT.
Of an LT.
Yeah. Like, even though I'm like, black wouldn't be my colour, but I look at them like, roof scoop is, the only way I'd have a coupe is with a roof scoop. And I'm like, oh, and it's all carbon inside and everything, and you're like, oh, that does things.
We'd definitely have to budget for a thorny warranty on that, though.
Yeah, absolutely. What about something a little bit classic? What about, and you could have one of these, I think again, for sub 100, Honda NSX.
Oh, mate, do you know what? The Honda NSX has been on my list for years. That would definitely be an as well as car.
Yeah, because, you know, you could get one, obviously you'd want the manual,
Yep.
you know, probably a coupe, and look, they're a lot more money than they used to be, but also I can't see them going down again. They're iconic cars.
Yeah.
Actually, probably if you get a good one, not too difficult to run, you can drive it around, and that's a special car. I think it takes things in a different direction, like, because we've often discussed about, I mean, look, we're pootling along in a 740 horsepower car, doing 45 mile an hour. So actually, you're like, all right, well, we don't need most of those horses, they can stay at home.
I've never driven an NSX.
Well, I'll tell you something, right? So I drove one, because everyone compares it with like 355.
Yeah.
And you know it's like 280 horsepower or 300 horsepower thereabouts, you know, depending on who you ask. And it was a very late one that I drove. And you go, yeah, okay, it's going to be good and everything. And I was like, no, this is amazing. Like this is incredible. Actually, I've driven a late and an early one, and I couldn't believe how good it was.
Yeah.
In terms of the engine, the steering actually I thought was a bit of a disappointment, but the engine is just mad. Considering it's supposed to be an ordinary engine and everything, you're like, yeah, right, Honda, like, yeah, pull the other one. I could see you in there.
Do you know what? Of course, you know I'd have to modify it.
Yeah, but it's okay, because it's a Japanese car.
Yeah.
And people do that, and there are probably already pre-modded ones out there. You can probably pick up for a bargain because someone's modded it, and you just take the mods off and put your own on.
Yeah.
Happy days.
I'd need to drive one though. That's
we
the
got
only
we
thing.
got to seek one out, but I think you quite like that. So another classic Japanese car, but I think Damani would kill you for this one. RX-7.
I love that. Do you know what? I've had a thing for the RX-7 for a long time, and in particular, the Veilside Fortune body kit, which, if you don't know, is the car from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, the third in the franchise. I mean, it looks almost like a supercar. You know, it's a completely different car.
Yeah.
I keep seeing those going up for sale for around the sort of 85 to sort of 90 mark, but they tend to be somewhere in Europe.
But I think you can still get like a regular RX-7 for like 45, 50, like a nice one, you know, FD.
Yeah, but to then get a Fortune kit and do the upgrade, you're looking at another 40, 50 grand.
Yeah, if you can get them. I mean, I don't know how available they are.
Not very.
No, so no, I can see you now. Well, I'm glad. My guesses are not so far off, and we only got a couple more to go through. First off, what about an Aston of some sort? I wouldn't see you in something like the DB9, but I could see you in like a V8 Vantage, one of the sportier, spicier Astons.
Yeah, I think I would need to drive it. Do you know what I really want to drive? I want to drive Richard's Challenge the Road CTR.
You'd like that?
It just...
Because it's angry and shouty.
Yeah, and the fact that you hate its suspension means that I'd probably like it.
All right, so a possibility, but we got to get you behind the wheel of one. And I could see you in that V8 Vantage.
There might be another Aston that I would like. I mean, I know there's one Aston that I would like, but it's well out of budget, and that's the Valkyrie.
Yes, no, I think just a little bit over budget. Yeah, and I think even you might find that slightly hardcore for usage.
Oh,
maybe not. I don't know.
Mate, you know me. I'd commute in a catering.
I know you'd love a Lambo, but I genuinely believe if you were to get in any form of Gallardo, you would actually feel it was a downgrade from the R8.
Really?
Personal belief. Yep.
Even the perf?
Yep.
I want to put that to the test for sure.
Now, Huracan perf would be a different matter.
Yeah.
And a Huracan perf is a potential, I think.
It's kind of, you can get some coupes under...
Yeah, they exist.
Under the 200 mark.
But for me, if you're going to do a Lambo, go to whole hog. And my suggestion would be an Aventador.
Oh.
I mean, that's the ultimate flash git car.
Yes.
And you know, I've driven one, and I recall not liking it that much, and I still want one.
It's a V12, that's why.
It's a mad V12. I was in London the other day in a taxi, and I saw this Aventador pull out, and I'd heard it for the last 5 minutes in a side road, and I'd said to my partner like, oh yeah, I knew there was an Aventador. She's like, oh no, how could you possibly know that? I'm like, because nothing else sounds like an Aventador.
No.
Nothing. Not even other Lambos sound like an Aventador. They're wild, and it's also one of these cars, a bit like this. Like when I first test drove this, I reviewed it, I was like, it's nice, but I'm in love with it now. And you've seen this as well, because you've had the car for a few days. And you're like, on a day like today, half an hour, whatever, you won't get this car. You just won't.
No.
But spend some time with it, you'll fall for it. And I'd like to see if that would happen with an Aventador.
I think it would. I've at least sat in one. That's as far as I've got. I haven't driven one yet. And I know that I can just about fit. Funny thing is, my son doesn't really fit. But
I only just about fit because of the long torso. So I'm like in the car like this, like.
The Aventador, I think, is definitely up there. However, the one challenge with the Aventador is the ones that would be in budget, I think would be just slightly too old for me to get the extended warranty from Lamborghini.
Yeah, the Lamborghini warranty only goes to 7 years, which is a shame. And I think they're really missing a trick because the Ferrari one goes to 15 years.
Same with the Audi ones, actually.
Yeah, and actually, the Aventador I would want would actually be a first gen.
Yeah.
I like the look of them. I like the purity of the shape and everything. I also look at the SVs and SVJs and go like, no. On my favourite roads, like there's sections of road I know where you're like, that splitter is gone.
Yeah.
And that's just no fun.
Yeah.
But the regular car, yeah, I've got a thing for that.
The thing to think about with that is the running costs, because I did some investigations into it, and you're looking at a pretty certain 5-6 grand a year, with the possibility of some big surprises.
To be honest, every single one of the Ferraris has cost me the same, so these days it doesn't really put me off, because I'm like, yeah, this has been the same, the 430's been the same, the 550's been the same, so it's like, yeah, guess what, it's a supercar with a V12 in it. It's going to cost a lot of money to run, you know, water wet, Sahara Desert sandy. So I think really in conclusion then, one of us needs to buy that roof scoop LT, one of us needs to buy an Aventador, and we'll go for joint custody.
Sounds like a plan.
But if I said to you right now, like, okay, Anthony, tell you what, actually, I've sold this, like, we should go and look at a car first, which dealer will we be going to?
I'll be honest, I think it might be the McLaren one.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 reasons. Because there is one car that is probably just about in range for me to own alongside the GT, and that's the 600 LT, because that's one we haven't talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Then I might have the choice between a 675 LT instead of the GT, or a 600 LT as well as the GT. Then I've got the benefit of a V10 convertible or a V8 twin turbo coupe. That is mental, and they're doing 2 very different things.
Have you been out in a 600 LT?
Not yet, but I just have a feeling it will be a car that I would like. So 600 LT is another one that
you sat in one?
Need to get out in. Yes, I have, yeah.
They're, I think if you had a 600 LT, I think you might very quickly sort of find yourself not driving the R8.
Really?
Yep.
Because it's that good?
Yeah.
I don't know, go for a cruise with the roof down. If I got a Spider, then I suppose.
Well, there you go, LT Spider. So, on that bombshell, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
We got to find you some cars to test drive, and as it happens, a few of the cars we mentioned, I have already organised test drives. Not all of them. So, if you've got one and you're happy for us to drive it, drop us a line. And other than that, as usual, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on JayEmm Friends. Bye.